Andrea and Nathaniel Shaw, you are the parents of Dallas and Tyson. And on Thursday, May the 1st, you found them deceased. And
Yeah.
today is Sunday evening, May the 4th. So to our audience, this is really, really raw. This has just happened. And there they are, beautiful 18-month-old twins, Tyson and Dallas. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful children. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the timeline of this. So we're going to go back to when you were pregnant with the twins. How was your pregnancy?
It was a struggle, especially when I got tested and diagnosed with preterm labor, about almost exactly a week before they were born.
And they were born at 29 weeks.
29 weeks in one day, yeah.
One day. And did you, while you were pregnant, did you take any of the pregnancy vaccinations?
No, I did not.
No flu shot or DTaP or?
No.
Okay. So why were they born early? Talk us through what happened when they came at 29 weeks in one day.
My body started contracting. They diagnosed me with preterm labor. They had me in St. Luke's antepartum department up until a few hours before they were born. They were trying to keep them from being born, but I kept dilating. My labor continued.
And so did you have a C-section?
Yes, I had an emergency C-section because Tyson last minute flipped to be breech.
And when they were born, what happened then?
They immediately, I didn't get to see them, nothing. They immediately took them to the NICU to get cleaned up and assessed.
And how was their health when they were born? Because they were tiny.
They had to immediately be put on oxygen pretty much right after they took them out of me. And their lungs weren't developed. Dallas had a heart murmur. But besides that, they were just small.
And do you know if, because they were very, very early, were they given the vitamin K? Were they given the Hep B? Do you know if that happened?
They were given Hep B. I have no idea about the vitamin K.
And they were given Hep B straight away, or did they wait?
No, they were given Hep B. Gosh, I think they had to have been given Hep B. I remember them saying they needed Hep B before they were able to let us take the kids home. So somewhere in their 77 days in the NICU.
And both of you, there's no way in this world that anyone could describe either of you as anti-vaccine.
No. The most anyone could tell you as far as that is that I was always I think we said no to a few vaccines just because I would do my research before I would give consent.
But they were on time with whatever the doctor told you to do.
Yes.
And did it.
Yep.
And at what age were they when they were allowed to go home with you?
They were just about to be 3 months old. They turned 3 months old January 10th of 2025. I don't remember. So
3 months old, just about 3 months old, but remembering everyone that they were born at 29 weeks.
Yeah. So they were released the day after their due date when they should have been born. So they were gestationally only a day old, really.
So you took them home and you had these two little ones, and how were they developing as little babies?
Perfectly. I mean, we had to keep in mind they're 2 months behind developmentally, so it was tough trying to raise them or treat them as if they were normal babies. But they ate fine. They learned to roll around and crawl just fine. Of course, later than normal 4 or 5 month olds, but yeah.
And so you went to the pediatrician 2 months, 4 months, the usual times that people go and get their well checks?
They went every month, I believe, for the first year.
And they had everything on schedule?
Yep.
And how were they after they had the vaccines? Were they okay? Did you give them Tylenol?
No, I did not give them Tylenol. They were okay at all the vaccines prior to this one.
Okay. So we're going to go to the 18 months where they had their vaccines at 18 months. Did they have their vaccines at 12 months?
Yes, they did.
And again, at 18 months, you went back in for some more What did they get that day?
They got Hep A, the DTaP, and the flu shot.
And did you at any point speak to your pediatrician about your concerns about any of these vaccines?
Yes, my mother-in-law was with me, and we had both had a concern specifically about the flu shot because their father's side of the family, they all have bad reactions or are allergic to the flu shot, and they always get nasal. And she said that they would be okay.
So despite the fact that you said there are issues in the father's side, the pediatrician still said it's okay to vaccinate these babies with the flu shot.
Yes.
Did she give any other explanation other than it's okay?
No.
And how were Dallas and Tyson on that day before they got those shots? Were they well?
Yeah, they were just as normal, perfect, happy little babies.
Had they started to develop any speech at this point?
Yeah, they said mama, dada. They called their grandpa bagump bagump. So, yeah.
So they were perfectly happy. So they had these 3 shots, the Hep A, the DTaP, and the flu shot, despite your concerns. And you took them home, and describe what happened after that.
They were okay. I think they took a nap when we got home because they seemed tired. But for the rest of the evening, it was, business as usual. We ate dinner. They played with us and their dad, and it was okay that day.
And the next day?
Yeah, that's the that's the
It's okay. Just take your time.
That's the day that they woke up, and when they walked out of their room, because they were walking, Tyson walked just about to the beginning of right into the entrance of my living room and just laid down and wouldn't get up. Dallas kind of, the best she could, ran to me because I was sitting on the living room floor, getting ready to change their diapers. And Dallas ran to me and she laid on me and she felt heavy, and like she didn't want to leave me and she seemed tired. I changed her diaper and I'd noticed that the typical toddler pot belly was gone. She was skinny. She looked tired. She was almost falling asleep while I was changing her. And when I had, moved her out of the way so I could then change her brother, she just laid on the carpet in the living room and wouldn't move or get up. And her eyes kept rolling back like she was trying to go back to sleep.
Did you notice anything different about the diaper?
Just that there was a green diarrhea in her diaper, as well as Tyson. Tyson, I had to go and pick him up from where he had laid down at the entrance of my living room and change him, and he also was skinny. He looked a little worse. His eyes were sunken back, dark circles. They both had like a blue to their mouths, and when I would try to like pull their lip down to look at it, it was like as if their lip was trying to glue itself closed, if that makes sense.
And Nathaniel, were you there at this point?
I was not. I was at work. I have a very long work day, so I get up and leave very early in the morning and come back at a half decent time in the afternoon.
So, okay. So, Andrea, what did you do then with your children this is day 2 after the vaccinations?
So after I changed their diapers, I kind of watched them for maybe a minute to see, if they'd perk up maybe. And then I immediately called my mother-in-law because she lives just down the street. And I told her, we need to send these kids to the ER. This is not okay. And she got off the phone with me. I tried to get a hold of him at work to let him know what we were doing. And then I video called my mom so that, because I kind of felt like I was going crazy a little bit, that they were, they didn't look right. I was like, this isn't okay, right? So I video called my mom, and they were like, yeah, you're taking those kids to the ER. They look like they're dying.
And so did you take them yourself to the ER?
My mother-in-law, I didn't have a vehicle at the house because he had it at work. So my mother-in-law picked us up as fast as possible, and we went to the ER.
All right, so let's talk about the ER. So this is 2 days after the vaccines, and you're going to the ER. What happens when you get in there? What do they say to you?
So we had a respiratory nurse and a couple other nurses in there, one on the computer. They had taken their blood pressure. They put a heart pulse Band-Aid sticker on their toes. The respiratory nurse looked in their ears and mouth, and then they left and told us that they would have the doctor in soon. Yeah.
So the doctor came in,
And he assessed them a little bit himself, just kind of touched their faces, under their neck, looked at their mouth, and then he said he almost seemed like he didn't know what was going on. And then I had brought up that they had shots the day prior and what shots they were, and that's when he went, oh, that they could very much so be a bad reaction to the vaccinations they had yesterday.
and what was his advice for you?
He said that he would give them both Tylenol, and that he would give them both popsicles, and they would sit and eat the popsicles just to see if they'd throw up, and then if they hadn't, we would go home.
And so they didn't, and you went home.
Yeah.
All right, so back you are at home. Do they start to improve, or are they still the same?
They were mostly the same, especially they just wanted to sleep. They slept with me on the couch, or they laid on me and slept on the couch. They didn't eat. They wouldn't drink out of their sippy cups. And they still had diarrhea. Tyson actually threw up a couple more times after the ER visit that day.
And Nathaniel, when you came back from work and saw your babies, what did you think about the state of their health?
I was kind of in disbelief that just so quickly, within a matter of 24 hours, the kids have went from perfectly happy, go lucky, active babies to looking like they were dying.
Did you both call the doctor again at any point and say that that's just not any better?
So I had on, I believe it was Wednesday morning, I tried to call the pediatrics to see if I could get them in. They said they had no time for walk-ins, and so I asked to speak to their pediatrician's nurse, and she said that mainly because by that point the only symptom really that was left was the severe diarrhea. And she said with the diarrhea to just change these few things of their diet, and as long as they didn't seem lethargic anymore or dehydrated, none of those symptoms, that they'd be okay.
And what things did she want you to change in the diet?
She said no greasy foods, basically just to put them on the brat diet.
Okay, so that's Wednesday night.
That was Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning. And how were they for the rest of Wednesday?
They were great. That was the only day since their shots that they were active. They were eating fine. They were drinking out of their sippy cups fine. They were talking normally finally, and they didn't want to sleep all day.
And so you put them to bed. Did they sleep in the same bed?
Yes, that was something that the NICU had told us, that there's not really a conspiracy or a medical reasoning, but when twins sleep together, say one's sick and the other isn't, it's almost like their bond heals each other. So they said really up until we can't have them in the same bed anymore because they're opposite gender, that it's best to keep them in the same bed to keep that bond.
So I know this is really hard, but if you can describe what happened when you found them on Thursday.
So I had woken up, and they weren't the ones that woke me up. Like, they weren't, crying, ready to leave their room, or talking, ready to leave their room. And I had peeped in their room, and I wish I had checked on them more, but I peeped in their room, and I assumed they were maybe sleeping in, because they looked asleep the way they were laying in their room, because they were belly sleepers, and of course they were old enough at the time to roll over. And then so I went and cleaned up the living room and was getting ready to, have them awake. I was waiting for them to wake up. And when I went in there to wake them up is when I found them the way they were.
And where were you, Nathaniel, at this time at work?
I was at work. I'd been at work for quite a few hours.
Andrea, were the babies cold? Had they gone long before?
Yeah.
Both of them cold.
Yeah. And in the way I saw them, they looked as if they had gone in their sleep. They were in their sleeping positions. I think it's called rigor mortis. Their faces were in sleeping faces. Yeah.
So what did you do then after you found out that your babies had gone?
I had flipped over Tyson because I tried to shake him awake and he didn't. I flipped him over and I saw him and immediately ran to the living room to grab my phone and called 911. And I went back into the room and sat on their bed, and then that's when I flipped Dallas over and saw her the same way.
And so when the ambulance came and the police, or what happened? Who arrived first?
I think it was, I don't remember the officer's name, but there was an officer first because the dispatcher asked if I'd go outside just so I wasn't sitting there in front of them like that. An officer showed up first, and I don't remember who it was. And then first responder vehicle showed up, and I had led the officer, before I could see when the ambulance showed up, I had led the officer to their room so that he could see them.
How did the police treat you both?
Oh.
The most blatant way that I can put how I was treated was with the most disrespect that I have ever been talked to, treated. They constantly were trying to pin me and Andrea against each other, trying to get us to say, well, I think she did it, or I think he did it. They were just trying to get us to say, well, the other one was the one that did it, instead of, hey, we know that your kids have just passed. We're gonna give you a little bit of time. It was just straight to interrogation. We know one of you guys did it without having any proof, without even having an autopsy done. And they were just very adamant that we had done it.
Did you tell the police that they'd recently been vaccinated and hadn't been well since the vaccines?
So yes, Nate and I both of our timelines when they'd ask us, like what had happened, how was it leading up to this, stuff like that. All of our timelines had started that Wednesday when they got the shots, and then it would end, of course, when I found them.
And so the police gave you both a hard time. Nathaniel, how did you find out about your babies? Did Andrea call you?
So
I wasn't allowed to have my phone.
My landlord had called, like, hey, what's going on? The police have taped up your trailer. And I was like, I don't know. Let me call Andrea, figure out. I'll call you back as soon as I know. I had called Andrea probably 12 times before I went to, okay, I know someone that lives in the neighborhood. I'm going to give them a call, see if they know anything. They told me to get home now. The ambulance is at the house. It's not good. I had called my brother because he was in town. I was like, hey, go to the house. I need you to go sit with Andrea or go sit with the twins, because at that time I had still not been informed of the passing. He said, okay. And then I was trying to call my mom. And then the one time where she did pick up, it wasn't even her that had answered the phone. It was an officer. And it's these exact words. I'm going to not say the officer's name because respect for him, because he was a very sweet guy after the fact. It was, hey, I hate to inform you, but your kids are dead. And that was pretty much the exact word, kind of exact tone at first. And I was like, you're lying. You're not telling me the truth. This isn't happening. And he's like, it's the truth. You need to go be down at the sheriff's office. And I just went to the sheriff's office, and that's how I had figured out, was through mind boggle racing, trying to figure out what is going on.
So just so you both know, I have recorded hundreds and hundreds of stories like this, and the police have always, every single time, treated the parents like this. Every single time.
It's just not, okay.
What were they accusing you of doing? So what were you supposed to have done in their mind?
So the way they worded it to me, and especially the second day of interrogation, they said that it wasn't medical, and that they figured asphyxiation, and that I had supposedly had a postpartum overwhelming blackout and done it to my children.
And how does that make you feel?
It made me feel crazy. Because I was telling them that, you know, my truth, and they were getting into my head that I had done it. And I know I hadn't.
And how does that make you feel, Nathaniel, that they're accusing your wife of doing terrible things?
I had looked at the detectives, and I told them that I was extremely pissed off at the fact that they thought my wife had the capacity to do so, as she was such a loving and caring mother, to the point where even new foods, she would go through everything that was in it as an ingredient to make sure that nothing was toxic.
I think this is a good time to tell the world about Dallas and Tyson. Describe them as children, their characters, and what those vaccines have taken away from you as a family, because these were your only beautiful children, 18 months old.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
So I'm going to start out with my tiny man, my tiny dude. The reason why he's got that nickname was just an all-around loving kid. Didn't care who you were, what you did. He thought everyone was cool. My best memory with me and Tyson is me, Tyson, my dad, and one of my brothers. We went to a truck pull that we have in the next town over. And I've been centered around cars so much, and like that's all I wanted for my kid, was for him to follow in my steps of cars are cool, trucks are cool, all that. We originally thought he's going to not like the truck pulls, but as soon as the first engine fired up, he was go get him, like, yes, this is cool. Like, he was pretty much down for anything. Couldn't ask for a better kid than the two kids. But I'm gonna get to Dallas. She's was such a sweet and caring soul. Like, if I had a bad day at work, I could walk in knowing that my daughter was going to run to me as soon as I opened that door and just be there for me, love on me, make sure that I'm okay.
She always had the best smile.
Her smile, you could see it, and it would make the sun just seem dim. It could just light up your whole world as nothing else ever could. I just want to make like the record of these kids were the light of everyone's world that came into contact with them. They were great kids. Everyone, like, they would sit there and say, well, don't you think twins, they're going to be rambunctious, they're going to go crazy, they're just going to go wild. And with us, the two kids were exact opposite. They were mellow, they were caring, loving, sweet children. I mean, they would even pull out their own toys, and once it was time for them to not get ready for bed, they would put their own toys away, and not even fully comprehending, like, hey, my toys need to be put away. They were smart, very smart kids.
Tyson used to love to dance with me. He loved music. They both really did, but Tyson would always have me pick him up.
Yeah, Andrea. And to remind our viewers that this has really just been a couple of days since this happened. So you are both in severe shock. And to sit here and go through this timeline is so brave of you and so valued by the world, because we have to warn the people of these vaccines. You correct me if I'm wrong. Your children at 18 months were perfectly healthy, happy children until those 3 shots.
Yes.
Yeah.
That you warn the pediatrician not to give the flu shot because of your history of illnesses after it.
Yeah.
So where are we now? So it's been a few days. We the baby's in a funeral home, and we are trying to get tissue samples to help get this case across. You are convinced that these babies died following the vaccinations.
Yes.
But you're so pro-vaccine, so how does that make you both feel that this has happened, that you were lied to?
I feel that I wish I was anti-vaccine now. Yeah.
Well, your children are beautiful, and it's a tragedy what happened, all the footage and the videos that you've sent, because the police have taken your phones away and they're treating you as criminals, which, listening to your story, it's exactly the same as all the other SID stories that we've recorded around the world. What do you want to tell the world about your children, about what has happened to you?
Gosh, I don't know how to answer that question.
It's a tough question. What do you want to say to the pediatrician who said it was fine to take the vaccines when you asked him not to?
In a non-angry way, I wish that she had informed me more and was willing to inform me more and reassure us with even paperwork and facts to make us feel better about the vaccinations, and especially the flu shot, where we had expressed our concern with their father's side of the family having reactions to just the flu shot. And I hope that that she starts, maybe doing better with other families. I know she has lots of other patients she sees, and I hope she gives them informed consent. She gives them information to consent to vaccines.
So one of the big questions I guess people have is, it's unusual for 2 babies to die in one night, but then on the other hand, those 2 babies were vaccinated at the same time with the same vaccines. They got sick afterwards at the same time with the same vaccines. So what do you have to say to people who say, Like, it just doesn't add up.
Everything happened to them at the same time. They learned how to walk at the same time. They learned how to talk at the same time. They tried new foods at the same time. And really, I can see they got the same teeth at the same time. Like they were, everything was at the same time. They had a bond that I don't think even I comprehend the bond between twins, but especially where they had got their shots at the same time by two nurses at the same time, and they got sick, same symptoms at the same time the following morning. It makes sense in my mind, but I can see where it doesn't to people that don't know this side of the story.
And also don't understand that vaccines can kill your children.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't know that when
No.
you...
No.
What, do you remember the last words your children said to you?
No, I don't.
But you have all those beautiful pictures. You have videos of what healthy, beautiful, on the ball children communicating with each other, super healthy. So what we're looking at now, that video, that is not the children that they became after those 3 shots.
Mm-mm.
Well, Andrea and Nathaniel, is there anything else that you want to add to the story?
As far as the when you asked to hear about the twins, just in general, how they are as kids, I did want to add, even though I was crying, that they did, despite being twins and seeming to like everything the same, the one thing that they didn't agree on much was Dallas loved strawberry shortcake and Tyson liked Lightning McQueen, the Cars movie. But they did not, when strawberry shortcake was on, Tyson was not having it, and vice versa.
So they were smart, typical siblings.
Yeah.
In fact, advanced, 18 months.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so sorry this happened to you, what they've taken from you. I can't imagine what you're going through, but I do know the people watching will be showering you in love and support, because tragically, this is not the first time this has happened. Thousands of SID stories we've done, and we're hearing of baby twins around the world that also have died like your children, so following vaccination. And we've got Children's Health Defence behind you, we've got the team behind you, and we'll do everything we can to bring this to light.
Thank you.
Thank you both.